right. Thank you for tuning in. 6 minutes after 9 o'clock. It's just a beautiful day out there, Ram.
Yeah, gorgeous.
I would say this is unseasonably cool, though. Wouldn't you say March 26th and it's 41 degrees? That doesn't seem right for this part of the world.
Florida.
Well, it is global cooling, you know.
That's right.
Warming, whatever it is. It's global warming. John Wareham is on the phone, and boy, I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say. It sounds like he makes a big difference in the world he lives in. He's a leadership psychologist. He's a Pulitzer Prize nominee, an inspirational speaker. He's the founder and CEO of the Eagles Foundation of America, which, remember what we heard, every minute there's another eagle getting another fish somewhere in the world.
That's right.
Oh, no, it was every 10 seconds, right?
Every 10 seconds.
Every 10 seconds,
yeah.
there's another eagle getting a fish.
Mm-hmm.
So there was one right there. So
Yeah.
It's a crazy thing. Anyway, the organization he founded is a nonprofit organization dedicated to developing leaders within the prison population. So, wow, I mean, people who've probably given up on life have somebody believing in them. He also is an editor, an illustrator, best-selling author. His book is called How to Survive a Bullet to the Heart, and the subtitle is going to intrigue you: Secret Lives and Uncensored Confessions of Maximum Security Prison Inmates. Wow.
Yeah.
It's apparently a book of poetry and prose, and April happens to be National Poetry Month. This is a busy, very creative and busy guy. John Wareham. Good morning, John.
A great pleasure to be here. Good morning to you.
Thank you for being on our air. First, let me ask if I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Yes, you are.
All right, thank you. And where are you? Where are you right now?
I'm in New York. I'm upstate New York. I'm looking out my window at a frozen lake.
At a frozen lake.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Wow. See, we're complaining because it's 41 degrees right now.
I think it's 18 outside at the moment. Although they say it's going to get warm, I don't know.
It's one of those cold winters, isn't it?
So there's just a little bit of snow in the air too, I tell you.
Is it really? Wow.
Yeah, just a little. Yeah, they say that this is the end of it anyway.
Yeah.
That's what they say. So, John, I'm so curious about you. How did you get where you are? You have an accent. Where are you from?
I'm originally from New Zealand, but I haven't lived there since 1970, actually. April the 16th, 1970 was the day that I left,
okay.
Which is the same date that this book gets published, actually.
Oh, there you go. It's a big day for you.
Yeah, I left there. I went to Australia for 7 years, and then I've been here ever since. I've been here for about 35 years or more now.
Oh, wow. So how did it end up? So if I were to look deep into your soul, what would I find? Would I find a poet?
I think you probably would, yeah. I've been writing poetry all my life, but I didn't earn an income at it until I didn't quite take it seriously until I wrote a book, a novel, and I included some poems in there, and they attracted a whole lot of attention. So I sort of thought, you know what, I should do this again, and then I did it again after that, and now I have this book. And so, and the other thing is, I wound up teaching in prison because I had a son who had a drug problem, and he finished up in Rikers Island briefly.
Okay.
And they asked me if I would teach a class there one day, and I did. They said, "Would you come back next week?" And I said yes. And they said, "Would you come back forever?" And I said, "I think I am going to do that." Yes.
So when you go into a prison population, I want to know two things. What's your mindset now about those people? And the thing, I realize that I'm doing an unfair thing by grouping everybody as one. But and probably at this point, because you've done it a while, you see that clearer. But in the beginning, did you view it in your mind as these are all going to be the same type of people?
No, I didn't. I've lectured, all over the world on leadership to executives, and also I was the national debating champion. So I sort of assumed when I went into jail that if anybody tried to give me a hard time, that I would be able to deal with that, and I did. But having said that, my approach always is that everyone's equal, and I'm just as equal as everyone else. And
well, good for you. Yeah, that's the way.
I just assume that. Well, no, I have learned. Actually, my son said that, who has a degree in psychology from Columbia,
Right.
and he said that although he had an education and he had every advantage, he said he learned very quickly in jail that these guys were very, very smart, and it was a big mistake to assume that anybody was not the equal of yourself.
Yeah.
And so I always treat everyone completely as an individual, and I'm very interested in what they have to say, because their experience is different to mine, and so I think I could learn everything, which I absolutely have.
Yeah, well said, and very much it rings true too. I mean, yeah, none of us is above any of us. Even the worst among us is loved by God, even if we can't love that person. And I don't imply that you believe in God. It's just my feeling, you know.
Well, I don't believe in God, but B, I can love them all equally. To be quite honest, I have no problem with that. You can still love even if you don't believe in God. Well, when I
I wasn't implying that. I guess.
No, I know you weren't. I guess
what I was saying is that I can't do what you're saying you can do.
Oh, I think you could. You'd be surprised.
Really? If I found out that somebody killed a child and was unrepentant of it and was just spitting at me every time I walked past him, I would have a hard time forgiving that guy.
If they were spitting at you every time you went past them, yes. I don't think I mean, there are some people there that I would be happy to push the button on them.
Right,
yeah, sure.
Right.
I would have no problem with that.
Yeah.
But having said that, the people that I've seen over the years in my class have all been very nice people, very charming, very smart, very switched on, very respectful, and I mean, with a couple of exceptions. But I guess that's because I'm trying to help them, and they, to begin with, a few of them say, well, what is he doing here, and why? But it becomes very clear to them that I'm only there, as I say to them, I'm here because I learn things. I'm here out of pure self-interest. I learn.
Really?
I learn more from you than you're going to learn from me, but I enjoy the experience, and I've seen people's lives change. So let's see where we get to.
So, John, you just made an interesting statement. You said you learn more than they learn from you, but you do admit that they do learn from you. So what do they learn from you? What are you teaching them?
Well, the psychologist Carl Jung said that the patient only begins to get well when he first has an understanding of his predicament, and second, can see a way out of it. And what I try to do, I say to my class that you can't ever get out of jail. All prisons are mental prisons. They lock from the inside, and you hold the key, so only you can let yourself out. But first you have to understand the forces that have placed you into the cage that you are in. And once you understand those forces, then you will not have to come back to prison again. But if you do not understand them, you will be back here within the year, right? And and I then go on to explain the forces, which are the harm that was done to you when you were growing up, as a result of which you came to believe things about the world which got you through your childhood, but which now are bringing you into jail because they are leading to certain self-defeating behaviors. And we go through each of the things that was done to you, each of the beliefs that you hold, each of the self-defeating behaviors, and we show that I show that although you thought you were in charge of your own life, you were not in charge at all. You were a victim of what I call the illusion of choice. You thought that you chose to commit a crime, but if I had been in your position, or if anyone else had been in your position with the options open to them, we would have done exactly the same thing, because you could not see the options that you needed in order to live the life that you would truly choose.
Wow, that's pretty deep stuff. That's deep stuff.
So do the writings of the people that are incarcerated reflect the thought that they feel they are the victims?
Well, when you read the book, you'll see that it's split into two halves. In the first half, the poems are the moment of my arrest. The moment of my crime, the moment of my arrest, the moment I went before the judge, the moment that they took me off to jail, and then what it felt like when I woke up here, and the life that I had to live. And then the second half begins when they come into my class, and we begin to try to make sense of everything that went down. So you see, if you read the book from the beginning to the end, you see the transition within their hearts and their minds as expressed in their poems.
Wow.
And so the first poems are pretty raw. I could quote you one from this man who's got 15 years left to serve. He's 26 years old. He served 1 year now. He said, "Who am I? What have I done? I can't believe I did that. What have I become? Why are those guys oozing red? That one looks just like he's dead. They're staring at me. Everyone, wherever did I get this gun?" Right? That's his poem.
Wow.
Now, he was 26 years and a very smart, very switched on guy, a natural leader. But at age 26, you know, he didn't have the education and to live the life that he thought he should live. He shouldn't have been able to get a gun. But anyway, that's the whole argument in America, right?
That is an argument. But let me just. Well, I guess intellectually I understand what you're saying. Emotionally, if I were his family, I would have a hard time with knowing that his poetry was even being celebrated or even being published. I would have a very hard time with that. In the same way that I have a hard time when, you know, Charles Manson's artwork or something is put up for auction. You know,
I do not like Charles Manson. No, he's awful. No, I completely agree with you. Yeah, sure. Yes, but this guy, you know, listen, he's got 15 years left to serve, right?
Right.
And he's a nice guy. If you met him, you would be very, very impressed. And you would see that there's been a change in him. And you would see that as a result of having been in my class, that he sees things that he never saw before. And unlike Charles Manson, who just gives a finger to everybody, right?
Right.
This guy didn't ever kill anybody for sport, right? He did. I mean, he was involved in trying to put, as he saw it, he was involved in trying to put food on the table for his wife and his kids.
Oh, the 26-year-old did.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And but actually most of the people there.
But when I was you know, my goodness, I know we're supposed to forgive everybody. But I don't. I have a hard time. I really do. And this guy would have he would have to really do a lot to impress me more than just sitting and talking to me. I mean, I would have to know a lot more. But I mean, obviously, you're making a huge contribution. I think you are rising above anything I could ever be by just by doing what you're doing. I could never do what you're doing, and so I'm more impressed with you. Yeah. Than I believe I would be if I met the guy you're talking about, simply because I know what he's done. At 26 years old, come on, there are guys who joined the military at 18. They knew better than to shoot people who shouldn't be shot. Hang
on, yes, but you're 100% right. You just said they knew better, right?
Right.
So one way or another, he never saw that as an actual choice.
Which is weird. I don't understand.
But you've got to understand the mindset of a guy who lives in the streets of Manhattan, and his peers are all doing this or that or the other. If you had children, and you find that they don't always do exactly what you say, right? Now, in this case, he has lost his life now for the next 15 years. I'm not there. I'm not there to give him the 15 years back. I'm there to help.
The way I see it, John, is you're doing something for us, because you're taking this guy who might come out in 15 years and kill somebody else and changing him so that he doesn't.
I don't think he ever will. I mean, when he gets out of there, he hopes to be a preacher, actually, is what he said. Let me read you this other poem, which is also on the back of the book, by a man called Andre Rivera, who was a big-time drug dealer, actually, but a very, very sweet guy. He said, racism in the ghetto was just another day. When it came to black and white, there were no shades of grey. I wised up to that jungle and tried to get away. Hey, not so fast, the devil said, and I was shred and lay, bleeding in a gutter with a bullet in my tray. First I saw black, then I saw white, but never shades of grey. Okay, he was saying that somehow the subtleties of the choices that he could make, he never ever saw. And he sees them now, right? So at the end of the class, which is only 13 weeks, this is the reason that I go back. I've been asked by people, why do you go back? And I say, I go back for the simple reason that I see people's lives actually change in front of my eyes.
Yeah,
right?
I believe that, and I know you said you don't believe in God, but I believe that's your purpose from God.
Yeah, I know, absolutely, yeah, sure. I can believe it either way.
But I think, you know, whether you believe in God or not, I believe there's a purpose. How about that? And
I believe that everyone has a mission, which I explain to them. Yeah. Well, what I say is that, listen, that your life begins here, ends here, and here we are now. There's only one question for you to answer. What am I going to do from this day till the end of my life to make sure that I get the life that I want, and that I'm happy, and that everyone else is as well, right? And so let's address that question. And you know, we have serious discussions on these things, and these guys are very, very smart, and they learn very, very quickly. Hardly anyone that ever went through my class has ever gone back. Hardly anybody. Is
that right? You know, I really appreciate what you're saying. This is a fascinating topic, by the way. I had no idea this was going to be as interesting to me as it is, John. So I have a question for you. You've mentioned so far men. Do you ever work with women? And if so, is there a difference between working with men and working with women?
Yes, I have worked with women, and yes, there is a difference. I have found the women to be much harder to help because their choices have been even fewer. Their opportunities to grow have been less, and they've usually had children, and so they steal. A, they steal for food, or B, they steal drugs in order to get through the day. And so they don't grow, and when they get out, they're almost always back in the same position. The other difference with the women and the men is that the men in jail are usually visited either by the mother or the wife, or always by the mother, sometimes the wife or the girlfriend, but they do get visits. When a woman goes to jail, there isn't anybody ever goes to meet her at all. She's on her own there.
Really? I wonder why.
Yes. Well, because the guy is off somewhere, or he's out there trying to earn a living, or he has just left, and because it reflects her situation before she went in there. She didn't have anybody to help. So it's like it is hard to. It is much harder to deal with the women, I find.
The explanation of what the Eagles Foundation does says that you help to develop leaders or leadership within the prison population. So I have a question about that. I've often thought that in the prisons or in the jails, the hierarchy is exactly flipped over from what it is in our world. And in our world, the guy who does nasty, evil things is at the bottom. In the prison world, the guy who does the nastiest, the guy who's killed 17 people as long as they weren't children, he's the guy who's the leader. Am I wrong about that? And if I am right, does what you're doing turn that around and make it easier for the guards and for the people who run the prisons? To deal with your first question, if someone's killed a whole lot of people and shown no remorse, in my experience, they're not particularly admired in prison. I mean, they may be respected, but they wouldn't be admired. The guys that are respected in the jail, or the guys that are admired in the jail, are those who bear the burden of their life every day with dignity and grace, and can smile and want to grow.
to be quite honest, the guys in the jail, it would be surprising to people. There's a tremendous amount of love in the jail. In this class that we ran here, honestly, it was such a joy to run that class. And when they came in not knowing each other, okay, and a little bit apprehensive, if I can get the word out.
Yeah, that's okay.
Of each other, and over the 13 weeks, they became very close friends. What I say to them is, okay, you're in jail, and you've got another 10 years or 15 years to go. You know the pain of it all. You've been through the class. Your job now is to see the walking wounded out there in the corridors, to see that behind the mask that these guys have of being so tough, that they're actually scared, that they're insecure, and that you now know that a kind word from someone that can see the world as it actually is can make a huge difference. So I want you to go out, and I want you to be the people. And believe me, I've seen it. I go to the jail. I see the difference in those guys. They suddenly see a life that didn't, and they make the best of it there, right?
The book is called How to Survive a Bullet to the Heart. The subtitle is Secret Lives and Uncensored Confessions of Maximum Security Prison Inmates. It's written by our guest, John Wareham. It's a fascinating conversation we're having, and the book sounds fascinating as well. We've got a few more minutes left. How do I ask this one? The title leads me to want to ask this question. So, is there sex in prison?
Is there sex?
Yeah.
I would say far less than you think. I mean, it's like it isn't. In my experience, these guys are all, they respect the people that are courteous and kind and respect you. Okay.
Right.
And that I haven't seen. If you're asking about gay sex there, I saw quite a few gay guys in my class at Rikers Island, and everybody respected them. I didn't see any particular abuse. I mean, you might find some few people are abusive.
Yeah.
But on my forms there, I would say the occasional person, when they complete a form of mine, they'll say, I feel guilty, and they have to complete the sentence. So I've seen a couple of them say, I feel guilty when I masturbate.
Right.
And I say, to which I say, listen, you're in jail. For God's sake, what do you expect us to do? You know?
Well, okay. I was including in my question, what's it called, conjugal visits?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, no, they're excellent. Yeah, sure. That's a means of means of controlling behavior. Yeah.
Well, that's what I wonder. Okay, well, so you answered the question before I asked it, and that's what I was wondering. Does the human being, especially the male human being, require that to be, sane? I guess I don't know if sane is the right word, but
I don't think so. I think that it's sublimated, and I can listen. I had a friend of mine came up with me to that class one day, and he said, John, I didn't know what to expect. I did not know what to expect, but one thing I did not expect, he said, was the wave of love that hit you when you walked in the door. He said these guys, and now these are maximum security prison inmates, and so I think that they sublimate the sex into a spirituality, actually, that doesn't exist on the outside. It's a very spiritual place.
Interesting.
In my experience, yeah, sure.
Since you've been doing this for 18 years, have you ever seen anybody to get out and lead a good life?
I've seen a lot of people get out and lead a good life. In fact, I was on the phone just yesterday to a man who served 40 years. That's 40 years, and he's out now. He's been up for 5 years, and he's been teaching my class actually on the outside. He teaches drug addiction rehab and things like that. So no, I've seen all sorts of people, and I see them afterwards as well.
Wow.
Wow. John, you are an amazing guy, and thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us this morning. You've got a list of credentials that are outstanding. You've helped us understand in this short interview something that we might not ever understand except for these types of conversations. The book obviously has a lot more in it than we could squeeze into this interview. The book is called How to Survive a Bullet to the Heart, Secret Lives and Uncensored Confessions of Maximum Security Prison Inmates. And John, the only thing I guess we need to know now is how do we get the book, and do you have a website?
It should be on Amazon at least. It's being published on the 16th of April. It's just left the printer yesterday and was going to the National Book Network, who would be distributing it into stores. But for sure, it will also be available on Amazon. And there is a website, eaglesgather.org.
Eaglesgather.org, okay.
Yeah, sure.
Every 10 seconds there's an eagle catching a fish, by the way.
I heard that at the outset. Yeah, I heard that at the outset.
John Wareham, thank you so much for being on the air with us. Keep up the good work. You are an inspiration for everybody who hears you and reads your work.
Okay, thank you so much. All right. All my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take a little break and be right back.
At Phoenix Infinitum LLC, we are a service-disabled, veteran-owned small business. We specialize in visual advertisements such as graphics, decals,